And we are going to start the webinar in just a moment. We're going to allow everyone to log in and take just a moment to let everyone do that. So bear with us. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation with Chambers Bank. Today, we are going to talk about how Chambers Bank leveraged BOSSDesk to improve their operations and become more efficient using our help desk software. Thank you for joining us today. I am Renee Demotica, and I'm with Boss Solutions. During our presentation today, we will be highlighting how you can use help desk software across the organization to improve processes, how to automate service requests using easy-to-use drag and drop forms, triggers, monitors, and routing requests. At the end of the webinar, we'll have a Q&A session, and we'll be able to take your questions and address your answer those questions at the end of the webinar, and we'll also be giving away an Amazon gift card. Our presenters today are Shawn Kohltfarber. We may have Russell Wansnyder join us as well, and we also have Chris Karnkowski. Shawn is with Chambers Bank, is the service desk manager, and Chris is our support engineer at Boss Solutions. We have a few housekeeping notes before we get started. Everyone will be muted throughout the presentation. We encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. And the presentation will be recorded, and an email will be sent to you after the webinar with a link so that you can preview that after the webinar. Because we value your feedback, we will be receiving a short survey after the presentation. If you would kindly respond with your comments, we would greatly appreciate it. Boss Solutions at a glance. We have been in IT service management for over 25 years. We've received numerous awards and have been recognized by leading authorities such as Gartner, Software Advice, Capterra, and many others in categories such as Top 20, Frontrunner, Category Leader. Our offerings include BOSSDesk, a support and help desk solution, which is available both on-premise and in the cloud, and Boss 811, a one-call ticket management solution for the damage prevention industry. Boss Solutions is committed to exceeding industry standards with the latest technology. Additionally, we are committed to providing excellent customer support by providing a US-based support team. Today's featured presentation will now begin with Shawn Kohltfarber on the BOSSDesk Advantage, how Chambers Bank leverages BOSSDesk to operate more efficiently. Thank you, Shawn. I will turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to hear. Like they said, I'm the service desk manager at Chambers Bank, and our company's been around since 1930. Just as a little bit of a heads up for the history of our company, Chambers Bank was founded in 1930 as Danville State Bank. And it was founded by the, I guess, grandfather of our current CEO and chairperson, Johnny Ed Chambers III. And just a little bit about his grandfather, he was a judge there, John Ed Chambers I. And they newly established this bank that replaced the Yeldville or Yell County Bank as the area's only financial institution. And this was right after the Great Depression. So since 1930, the bank has remained in the Chambers family. And if you look at how we've grown, we've done it through acquisitions. And then I think more than anything, it's the dedication that we have and commitment to serve our communities that we work and live in. Currently, we have 24 branches, and they're all in the state of Arkansas. And our mission, which it really, I guess it's helpful for me to come to work every day, is really to improve the financial well-being and the quality of life of all of our customers and the communities that we serve. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a tornado that came through Arkansas here where I live. I live in Northwest Arkansas, and another community where our bank is at, it's called Springdale, and it's just 30 miles away south from us. And that tornado hit a couple of homes, and one of the things that and what holds true to this testament is our employees, without worrying about compensation, they were there to help do cleanup and make sure that we had the supplies needed for people that were struggling after the aftermath of the tornado. So here's a little background about myself. I got a bachelor's of computer science in 2000. I also finished up a master's in mathematics in 2006. And then, and this is the unfortunate part, I didn't realize I've been in the computer industry for over 22 years. It makes me feel old to know that. But during my 22 years, 7 of those years has been in banking. And I first started out at a bigger bank. It's a huge bank. And now I'm with Chambers Bank, which is a community bank. And I definitely can feel the difference. Like I was telling you before, we really go above and beyond to do what we can to help out our community. There's constantly, you see emails of how we're helping a customer that's fallen on hard times, or even employees internally, you know, and it's like, we do go the extra mile to show that we care. The roles that I've had in the banking industry, I was a process design engineer, and currently, like they mentioned, I'm the service desk manager, and I've been taking on that role since 2020. One of the things as a process design engineer that I ended up doing is I completed a green belt Lean Six Sigma process improvement, and that's involves a project, and you need to save a certain amount of money. And I was able to complete that in 2018. And one of the things that my boss, Russell Wonsnyder, and I discuss a lot of is really our focus with the software is it's a service desk to us. And that's what we talk about whenever we discuss internally. And it's because when we look at a service desk, and this is what in our discussions, the service desk is more of like a customer service tool. And it's not just acting, when we think of a help desk, as somebody saying, oh, I got my stuff, it's broken, instead of, okay, what is that service that you need us to provide? And when we talk about service desk, it's more towards what level of commitment of service that we can give them. And I'm now coming on or starting to understand this in our processes. And you know, before I didn't think there was really a difference, but as we've discussed it, I can see that if your focus is on customer service, calling it a service desk, it creates more of that bond and that trust with the people that really need the help. So back when I started, and this was over 3 years ago, my boss, Russell Wonsnyder, he hired me, and he was just joined the bank like 3 months prior to me coming on board. And the way that life was, as far as service with IT work, everything was based on a shared email box for incident tickets. And it was a coordination nightmare. And so one of the things that Russell made sure to introduce our company as quick as possible is a service desk, and he saw all these different benefits. One of them being, if you have just a shared inbox, you really don't have that coordination of who's owning the ticket. There is this double work thing that happened internally. People that were on the customer side were always calling their favorite IT person. So there would be one person that would get all the calls, and then another person that didn't know that there was any problem to be had. There really wasn't a place that we could go back and look at what did that person do to fix that problem of any of these common fixes. And it was really hard for us to keep track of if the work was approved or not. Like whenever you want a new piece of equipment, let's just say a laptop, we make sure with the help of our service desk system that we get that person's boss involved, and we make sure that they meet certain criteria. So we don't just give a laptop to a person that's working, let's say, the teller line. When we look at a laptop, it's something that's very flexible, something that somebody's going to work from home, and they need to have a certain threshold that needs to be met. So that's one of the things that we really is very helpful with a service desk. So when I started, it wasn't until I started in 2018 here, October. And by 2019, January, we had our first service desk started. The one that we had, the adoption was very difficult because people were stuck. You know, it's really hard to change somebody if they have an old mindset. So the old process is really, we were trying to have them work through, and we were trying to get rid of this problem we were having, which is that all the people that had a problem, they wanted to call their favorite IT guy. So we kept working through that. If you look at what the amount of volume of tickets we had during that time, it was between 200 and 300 monthly tickets. And the vendor that we had, we're going to call them Service Desk version 1.0. They did many other things besides service desk technology. And that's not the complaint against them, but the service desk wasn't their number one priority. Whenever we needed help, it took a while to get them to help us with our requests for like incident where things broke. The other thing this service desk version 1.0 had is that the company, and you might know who they are by me mentioning this, they had a big data breach. And it was so bad that throughout the whole industry, people knew or didn't trust them anymore. And so it wasn't their service desk product that had the service breach, but from our perspective, we were concerned about them being able to still be in business. And like we said, the service desk software wasn't their number one priority. And that's when we started looking into replacing the service desk. So when we went live with BOSSDesk, this was August 2nd of last year. One of the things that we really like about BOSSDesk is the fact that they are a service desk company. Like they eat it, they dream it, they think it. That's all that they think about. The other thing that what really impressed us was the workflow and the automation. And the great thing of over those 2 years, getting people where they were able to adopt the mindset of a service desk, our volume went from 200 to 300 tickets, monthly tickets, to now we're at 800 to 1,000, and we're continually growing our monthly tickets. The thing that's very helpful with BOSSDesk is they have a service catalog, It's very visually appealing. You have two ways to present the service catalog. There's a list view of it, and there's also this tile view. The tile view makes it very easy for us to abide by the rules that my boss had set up when we were building out our system. He has this thing called the 2-click rule. It should take us at most 2 clicks to put in every service desk or service request. And with us going to the tile version, it makes it very easy for us to figure out what department's going to help us, and then what is that ticket that they need to put in for that department to help us. So if you want to think of it, and you're new to a service desk software, the way I like to think of it is like it's a zip line, and any request is kind of neatly backed up, and it gets to the person that needs to get to. But we've had some outages when we were with Service Desk version 1.0. Every time we had a problem like that, it was as if your cord was cut. Like it was a nightmare. And then, as you can see in this example here, I think the guy's bungee jumping, and he doesn't have the safety of anything. And that's the way it feels like. So if you look at leveraging BOSSDesk, this is the tile view that we have set up. We have departments that the service that we can provide is appraisals on a loan applicant, password unlocks. This here is some custom reporting that we have with another tool. Facilities, that's a department that if you need help from, I guess, changing a toilet or fixing a toilet to changing a light bulb. Each one of the departments are represented here in what we've built out over the last 8 months. So just to kind of give you a high level of how we've organized things, like I mentioned, the multiple departments can benefit from this. And since BOSSDesk is very knowledgeable on the ITIL part of things, we leverage it a lot in the IT department. That's our #1 department that uses it. But then my boss and also is responsible for the facilities department. We are not responsible for the appraisal department, but the person that is in charge of the appraisal department, they saw the value in what we could do for them. And so we've built a lot of stuff for them as well. And our last adopters is the fraud department. And where they're leveraging it is in something that's very specific to banking, which is called the Reg E disputes. And then lastly, every year, we do internal audits with an outside party to make sure we're doing the stuff that we have promised. And that's one of the things that we leverage BOSSDesk to do. So back to the IT services. As Renee mentioned, what you guys get with BOSSDesk is the service management side of it. And we really like BOSSDesk from that perspective. Incident tickets, anything that needs to be done, like a break fix item, you can create a ticket for that. You can create service request tickets. The other areas when we start working with the ITIL standards, problem management and change management are other areas that we use BOSSDesk. Just yesterday, we had 4 tickets that were coming right out of the blue, and they were very similar in size and scope. And so we created a problem ticket just so that we could link all 4 of those tickets together. And the thing that's nice about it, the person that had to get in touch with our third-party vendor, they were able to find the person that put enough information in the ticket that whenever we wanted to ask them questions, they would be able to help us. The other ones that just said, oh, it's broke, we, after got the concrete evidence that we needed to get the thing fixed, we went back to them to just verify that those were the issues that we were trying to fix. And when they were able to verify that stuff, we funneled it to the vendor, and we were able to close the ticket this morning without, it happened in the afternoon. We were able to get with the vendor. We gave the vendor the right information, and all 4 of those tickets were now off our list. As far as the size and scale of what our department for IT does, we cover between 600 to 800 tickets in a month. We use the BOSSDesk to, or if we didn't have BOSSDesk, we would be in big trouble, like I mentioned before. Any given day, when we look at our screens as a technician, we're looking between 40 and 120 tickets that are open. Whenever it gets over 100, my boss tries to get more people to help take the load and share it so that we can work those down. And we try to keep it around 80 tickets. When we hit over 100, there's something wrong. And so we're trying to figure out, is it a problem that we need to fix that's impacting many branches, or if it's a problem that's affecting one particular product too. Our facilities department, like I said, works for my boss. And the thing that we use with the facility team, their structure is a little different. They have 3 people that can do work, but they can't do troubleshooting or remote fixing like what we do in the IT department. And so the footprint that we have to go to all 24 branches, they turn it into a work list so that they can determine if they need to get a vendor involved or if it's something that they can work internally. And they have one person that's on staff that's called a facility coordinator. And what they're doing is trying to pinpoint where all these problems are and how they can get that problem fixed as fast as possible. And our whole goal is to make a big impact in less time. The one thing though, that was kind of humorful, right after we got BOSSDesk online, there was a ticket that came in, and the ticket was a request for refreshments. And the facility manager, he took care of it in a timely manner because it was an important need. And, for the next 2 weeks, we gave that guy a hard time. And I felt good because we were able to even accept a ticket that was for refreshments for a high priority need. And that goes to the flexibility that we have with the system. Like I said, the appraisal department, they also leverage it. They use it to do their appraisals on any of the different loans that we have. We're looking that as far as how many tickets they're processing is anywhere from 100 to 150 tickets a month. And what we're doing with those tickets is we're only allowing 2 groups in the company to use it: the loan officers and the loan assistants. They're the ones that are, I guess the things that BOSSDesk can do is make it specific to an Active Directory group. And it makes it nicer when everybody else that doesn't have any understanding of that ticket type, that it doesn't even pop into their purview. I have talked to many loan officers where they've expressed to me that this is a great system so that they can get that part of the approval processed. And it's kind of interesting when you do talk to people that are using it, then they're like telling you, you need to do it in this area and that area, and this would fix my life if you could fix this process and that process. And I just remind them that it just takes a little time and setting that priority on figuring out which one we need to fix next. So we just got done fixing or starting a new department online. It's the fraud department, the regulation e-disputes. If you are in banking, or if you're not in banking, everybody's got a debit card. And one of the things that with debit card, there's this regulation called Regulation E that states if there's something that's on your bill that came from an electronic transfer or from your debit card, and you are suspicious about it, you first need to go to your merchant to make sure that you guys can figure out how to resolve it there. And if the merchant is unwilling or unable to fix your problem, that's when you go to your bank, and your bank puts a dispute on your behalf to see if you can get your money back. And so just as an example, when my wife and I moved here to Arkansas 7 years ago, we were looking at a way to join the local gym. And the requirements that we had was we wanted a gym that had a pool. Well, we found one, everything was great. We tested it out, and then we were ready, and we paid for a membership for the whole year. Well, then 2 weeks later, they went out of business. The door was locked up, and they gave us a number. And when we called that number, they said, well, if you want any help, you want a refund, you need to talk to the bankruptcy court. We don't want to help, or basically they couldn't help us. So then my wife we fortunately paid them in a credit card, and we went to the credit card and we told them, hey, this company is no longer giving us service. We gave them a whole year's membership fee, and they're not even willing to help us and reverse the charges. So the credit card that we had, they went and had done this Reg E dispute for us. And by the next week, we had all of our money back, and because they were bankrupt, we didn't have to even be concerned that we were going to get denied on this process. So just to get an idea of how this process works, there's roughly about 100 people that are funneling 10 different ticket types to a team of 3 to 4 people. And this process takes up to 90 days to resolve that dispute. Before we had implemented this strategy or this ticket type, everything was managed with a shared email box. And just as I said before, it was a coordination nightmare. And so when my boss brought it to me as a project that we needed to take on, this was, if you would, it's a process improvement success story, because from when we were identifying the problem to implementation, it took us 3 months. And in those 3 months, our training team, they trained all those 100 people that needed to understand it. And they are just using the system. They're finding new ways to get their work done faster than ever before. And what made this really hard is there was a PDF form that needed to be filled out. It needed to have a signature on it so that we could submit it to our debit card system. So when we could put in this dispute on their behalf, each one of these disputes require a little more information, questions that needed to be asked of the person putting in this type of ticket. And we put it in their smart form. So each one of these ticket types right here, we have that information now being captured. And when they were doing this with email, there was multiple times they had to get with either the person like the CSR or the teller that put in the ticket, or they even had to call the customer. And one of the things that's bad about that is when you're calling customers directly and they're not able to help you, it creates a stressful environment. And as you can see, the thing that we really like about it is whenever you look at the fraud disputes, everything is built out and it's based on these pictures or images, trying to help the person deciding which one to pick. So back to that whole thing about audits. Like I would like to say is BOSSDesk is our system of audit. So like if you're new to banking and you don't know how audits work, is that you create a list of ticket types for the particular department. And the one thing that's nice is you can create advanced searches, you can create in the reports, and you could just create that, and it creates a nice laundry list of items that you can turn it into an Excel file that we provide to the auditors. When the auditors look at the tickets and what they're seeing on the descriptions and the summary, they come back and say, okay, we want these 12 tickets, or these more information on these 12 tickets. So when you go to BOSSDesk, you can click a little icon that says print it out. You look at that ticket, you can turn it into a PDF, and it's all electronic. You provide it to them in a folder, and they're also looking to see if you've got the proper approvals that are needed on these different tickets, and just making sure what we're doing in the service desk and how we provide service to people is done correctly. Well, this, the question and answer slide, we're actually going to do that later. So I think we're at a good stopping point, and I want to turn it over to Chris.
All righty. So now that you've seen what Chambers Bank has been able to do with the BOSSDesk system, I'm just going to go over what functionalities in the system are there in order to accommodate these types of workflows and give a demo of those features. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Just give me 1 second. All right. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All righty. So this is the service catalog in BOSSDesk, and the service catalog is the custom forms that are specific to the types of issues your organization will deal with. We provide 34 custom forms out of the box that you can either use, or you can modify, or you can create your own. Right now, I have them separated into different categories of forms, such as general support or inquiries, accounts and passwords, that kind of thing. If you wanted to see the whole list of forms, we can do that as well. So if you skim through this, these are some of the templates that we have out of the box. So just to give an idea of what types of forms we can do, this is, for instance, a improved general help desk form. So this has a drop down for the type of problem, and you can select sub options. You can enter computer number, printer number. You can enter computer number, printer number. You can have you can add a checkbox for whether it's an emergency. You can add these boxes down here for text and images. And then we can also add file uploads and things like that. All the fields that you place in a form are customizable. Additionally, you can make different forms visible to different departments. So if you've got specific forms that are for specific departments, you can separate those forms out so that they don't even have to see the forms that are only for other departments. And then conversely, you can separate them into categories, as I showed you. So if you've got different types of forms for different types of issues, are some people still having issues seeing the screen?
No, I think, well, we have a couple people who have said they can't see it, so bear with us. I'm going to confirm that we do. We are able, everybody. If you cannot see the screen, if you'll just, oh, perfect. They're coming in, they can see it.
Okay. I was about to try changing the screen share again. Anyway, so we can create all sorts of different types of forms, and these forms are actually pretty easy to build. They can be as simple as, for instance, and we'll take a look at the list view real quick. They can be as simple as this password reset form, which just requires a username and a drop-down selection of what system to use. Or they can be as complex as this HR new employee hire form, which has a mandatory first and last name field, a drop-down for hiring manager, a drop down for department, and then a date picker for start date. You can also have line items here for different individual things that are needed. And each of these line items or each of these drop downs can be tied to its own workflow. Those workflows are the automations that Shawn mentioned that allow you to trigger off additional items to be done based on selections made in the forms. Now, the forms are actually pretty easy to build as well. So if I go in here to settings, service catalog, and I want to, for instance, edit the improved general help desk form, you have the ability to upload a custom icon as needed. Short and long description, you can create optionally. You can control which category it shows up in. You can give it a custom name. You can choose who can and cannot see that form. Either you can make it all users, selected groups or departments, or you can make it so that only agents can fill out that form. You can also set up an approval requirement. Within the system, we have the ability to set up approvals such that it requires approval either from nobody, from the manager of the person requesting it. That manager comes from Active Directory, or you can set up an approval board, and that approval board needs to sign off on those, sign off on the requests that come from that form. There's also ways to trigger approvals later in the ticket process using workflows, but we'll get into that in a minute. Now down here in the, we have the auto assignment and we have the ticket title templates, but down here in the form itself, building the form is very easy. All you need to do is pick what kind of fields you want, drag and drop the field, and then you can give it a name, choose whether it is mandatory or optional, choose whether it can be used in a workflow or not as the triggering factor, or you can enable conditional logic. Conditional logic allows you to hide and show sets of fields based on the answers given in other parts of the form. So if you've got a different field where they select a certain item, it can pop up a different set of fields that need to be filled out if that item is selected. Now, once you submit one of these forms, it passes into our workflows. It passes into the first level of workflows anyway. So for instance, for the new hire form, you're going to define that as a workflow that happens when the ticket is created. And you'll say if the service request is new hire and the AS400 access box is checked, then automatically generate a subtask and attach it to that ticket. And that allows you to set up additional workflows that can be assigned to different technicians, all related to the same ticket. You may also want to set up an approval process when a certain you may also want to set up an approval process that happens when a certain step in the tickets process happens, like if it's moved to pending review or something like that, it can trigger an approval process. And that can be done when, for instance, the extended status changes and the extended status is, pending review. You could automatically trigger an action to request approval from a predefined approval board, whether that be a change board. You can set whatever boards you would like, and then that can trigger approval requests at that time. Once it passes through the first level of approval, though, it goes to our SLAs. SLAs let you automatically define, based on the priority of the ticket, how much time your techs have to respond to and resolve a particular ticket. You can set that differently for each priority. You can set exemptions, which will pause those SLAs while the ticket is in certain statuses that are outside of your control, like on hold, waiting on a vendor, or waiting on a user to respond. And you can set up escalations and reminders that will automatically email the technician or their manager when things are coming up on their due date. Once it passes through SLAs, it can go into some of the subsequent workflows. One of the ones I mentioned is if it's placed in like a pending review status, it can automatically trigger an approval process. Another popular one is the ticket can automatically close if it's placed in the status waiting on user information and the user never responds. You can auto close those tickets. But additionally, you can do all sorts of other helpful items, like if all the tasks are completed, it can automatically close the ticket, send out approvals when certain statuses are reached. send out emails to certain people when certain types of tickets are put in. You can even set in business hours versus after hours workflows, and those workflows can happen separately. You've got all sorts of options available and automations with the workflows. Now, once a ticket comes in, it's going to come into the ticket queue. And there is a lot of flexibility available in the ticket queue. This is what it looks like from an administrator's point of view. As an admin, I can see all the tickets in the system. So I see a list of all the tickets that are in there. And for instance, this ticket has a lot of things on it. Within a ticket, you have the ability to add comments. Now, as a technician, if I add a comment, it'll automatically email the requester. If the requester adds a comment, it'll automatically email the technician. So you'll receive notifications as things are happening in the tickets. You also have the option to add private comments. Those are only visible to other technicians. They're not visible to the requester. You can also do canned responses, which you can use if you've got any predefined responses to certain types of requests. If it's like a specific facilities request or something like that, where somebody says, can you turn up the AC in this room? And you say, due to company policy, we do not turn up temperature past certain degrees or something like that. But it's basically, if you've got any predefined responses, you can store those as canned responses and apply them very quickly rather than having to type them up every time. A ticket can be broken up into multiple subtasks. Each of these subtasks can be assigned to different technicians, or they can all be assigned to the same technician, up to you. And they can be either parallel or tiered. Parallel subtasks can be completed in any order. Tiered subtasks have to be completed in a specific order. We have the ability to request approvals. As I mentioned, that can happen either when the ticket is submitted based on what type of ticket was submitted, or you can have it at any other point during the ticket's life cycle, or your technicians can manually request approval if you want to set up a manual process for that as well. We can also link assets to tickets. So if you want to have a service history of each asset, you just want to mark which asset you worked on with the ticket, if it's an IT ticket or something like that. If you have to buy something as a result of the ticket, you can link purchase orders for bookkeeping purposes. And then we also have event logs that show all the changes that have been made over the course of the ticket's life cycle. So you've got a fully auditable record of each ticket. You also have the ability to add watchers. Now, a watcher is basically somebody who's CC'd on all work being done on this ticket. So if somebody else wants to be kept in the loop on some specific item, you can add them as a watcher. We bring in all your users' contact information automatically from Active Directory or other sources, so you can have all that displayed in the ticket itself. And then all the details of the ticket can be changed on the fly. One of the useful items for going through tickets for audit purposes is that all tickets can be converted to a PDF and printed. You can either do that individually inside of a ticket by clicking the print button. Notice that will include any sort of links or images in the print view. It'll also show the statuses of each approval, any associated assets. It'll show you the history of all of the comments. All of that is included in this print, and this can be either exported to a PDF or it can be printed directly by using your browser's inbuilt print function. Now, additionally, if you're doing some sort of audit, you can run a advanced search, which defines which types of tickets you're looking for. You can add customized filters here to look for specific tickets. And then you can actually select a number of tickets, and you can bulk print all the details of all of those tickets. Otherwise, if you want a summarized list of tickets that's more like a spreadsheet, you have that option as well. You can come in here and edit the advanced search, say which columns you would like to have, and then you can either apply that to run it once or save it so that you can run it whenever you want. We have a lot of advanced search features here. You can search for tickets based on any field within a ticket. So you can just go in here and look for tickets that match any sort of criteria. We also have a simple search. So like if I want to look for tickets that involve printers, I can just go and type in the word printer, and I can do a quick and easy search to find all the tickets that are related to printer issues. I can then go through these and see if there's any sort of trending patterns that I want to keep an eye on. There are other simple filters as well. You can also filter off of which department is submitting things. You can filter off of who's working on them. You can filter on whether they are unassigned, assigned, or closed. And you can filter on based on which category as well. So these are the functionalities in the system that help accommodate all of the workflows that you saw earlier in the presentation. So that's the basics of what I have to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to the rest of the team to open it up for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm going to, bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in just a moment. Let's see here. There, can everybody see my screen? So now we're going to take questions and answer your questions. We've got 1 or 2 or 3 that we've gotten through the to the Q&A box. We've also got some that were emailed up to us separately. And can everybody hear me okay? Just want to make sure you can hear me and you can see my screen. I just want to thank Shawn and Chris for your presentations and your enlightenment on the software and how it's helping your business become more efficient in operating. Shawn, this question is for you. What was the biggest problem that you had to overcome when you were implementing BOSSDesk?
Well, when I think about that, I'm thinking of implementation when we did it August 2nd of last year. And so it's been about 8 months. You know, I think really pieces of it that were outside of BOSSDesk that we had to make sure we had a plan around, that it was the training aspect was one of the big hurdles that we had to overcome. Mm-hmm. You know, the team that implemented it, we had to get trained up first, and Chris K was very helpful in getting everybody that was on those calls educated and what you guys, what you guys have available and how to retake from Service Desk 1.0 and port it into BOSSDesk was kind of those big hurdles. And after we got to the point where we were ready to launch, and we were probably 3 weeks out, we had 80% of the functionality there. We had to figure out our timing to get everyone that was used to putting in tickets in the previous system over on what you guys have. And I think one of the things that was helpful in that adoption, like I was saying, the pictures that you guys have in the list view and being able to take any of your ticket types and finding an image that related to what problem people were having.
Got it. How long did it take you to implement what you've shown us?
So when we were getting ready when we picked BOSSDesk as our next service desk vendor and the one we have today, Chris, he had some guidelines that we needed to work through. I think we ended up purchasing a certain bank of hours with you guys so that we could consult with him. And some people in the organization said, oh, it should take a month. I thought it was going to take 2 months because there was a lot of stuff that we needed to change and get up and working. So we ended up, compromise was 1.5 months. But like I was telling you, there was still those 2 weeks where we had to get people trained on the system. And when it was really exciting to be able to go live on August 2nd, because there was a lot of that work and effort that we were doing. And I think one of the things that was kind of a biggest challenge for our team internally was how do we know how to use the other system, but now how do we do the new system? And so there was a lot of conversations that we had, and also too, how we were training them, the people that were on our team. is we have a weekly call that I run where we were able to address those problems, like things that we saw that we had to correct were people putting in the wrong tickets, and how do we fix that? Do we need to add more tickets? Do we need to take away tickets? So make them more general so that we can do the troubleshooting on the after they put in the ticket, or do they need to give us enough information so that we can get the job done quickly? So
Gotcha. We've got a couple of questions that came through on the Q&A box. One of them is, how did you transition your business from call your favorite technician to enter a request?
We wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for the push from above. Our CEO, like my boss is the CTO, and he shared his vision. The CEO, you know, he was a little leery of the implementation, but I think it's just as you start and you keep moving forward, if you don't have that good connection, like my boss has a good connection with our CEO, there was a lot of times that he had to just say, trust me on it, trust me on it. 6 months later, you know, the increase in ticket volume went from that 200, 300, and it was getting closer to the 400 to 500. Like, I guess that's the thing that's kind of crazy is my boss, he worked at a bigger bank. And when he came in, he already knew what was going to work. And so it's really, how does he communicate that this works to somebody that's never seen it? It's like asking a blind man what an elephant looks like, and the only other person that can tell him is another blind man. And just on the perspective of where they're at, an elephant means something totally different if they're touching the tusk or the trunk or even, you know, his leg. You can really, you don't get the full picture unless you're immersed in it.
Got it. Another question we have is, do you use out-of-the-box reports for your KPIs? And if so, which ones do you find most helpful?
So their reporting is something that was a big advantage that we had from BOSSDesk. There's this really cool report. It's called Ticket Summary. You can create what you call advanced searches. And those advanced searches can really drive what you're trying to do. One of the things that we've leveraged that advanced search with the ticket summary is we've lost a team member that was very critical to our organization, and being able to kind of comprehend the amount of work that they do is really hard. And so we just created an advanced search that was them as an agent, and we saved it as an advanced search. So anytime we lose a critical employee, we can kind of see the different categories that they've been involved in. And then this is where it makes my job a little harder, or easier maybe. I don't have to look at all the tickets. I can just go in and look at the different types of tickets that they've been involved in. And now I can provide a list to my boss of what that person was responsible for. And now he's got a list that says, okay, who do we get that would best fit those responsibilities?
I've got a couple of questions for Chris. Chris, I think Keith, if I'm not mistaken, asked, can you give additional details? Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Keith asked, show us how to do the drag and drop options where they have sub options. And I've got another technical question about, can you give us additional details on the auto close ticket if waiting on customer for 10 days?
Yep. So let's go ahead and cover those in order. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Okay.
So in terms of the options with sub options, the way I was showing those was within a service catalog. So that's what I'm going to cover. That is simply a different kind of drop down. Instead of a drop down list, you want a cascading drop down list. A cascading drop down list simply means that you can have sub options. All you do is you create a cascading drop down list, you create your options, and then you drag it from left to right, and that creates a sub option. Now, as for Auto close tickets if you are waiting on a customer for more than 10 days. The way that works is you create a workflow where, well, the first thing you need to do is you need to create a few extra extended statuses. I generally go in and I create the waiting on customer or waiting on user and the user or customer replied extended statuses. And then the easiest thing to do is create a workflow that is with a trigger time in current extended status is X amount of days, like 10 days. You can set this to whatever amount of time you want. And then your condition is the extended status in question is waiting on customer. And then you can say, if that trigger and condition match, then you can just set the automatic close action. You can also have it email the requester with something like, let them know why the ticket was closed or something like that. Or you can just have it automatically close the ticket. That's up to you. You also probably want to implement another one that says if the requester does comment and the extended status is waiting on customer, then you want to automatically change the extended status to customer replied, so that you don't ever hit, so that if the customer does give you information, you don't ever hit that wall where it closes it anyway, just because your technician didn't respond.
Thank you. Did that cover all of the technical questions? I believe it did. Just want to make sure. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. Bear with me just a moment. Can you see my screen okay? Thank you. And the next part, we are at the Amazon gift card giveaway. We would like to now announce the winner of our gift card. And the winner is David Scher with capital Tau. Thank you all for participating and attending our webinar today. For additional questions, you can contact our team at sales@bossdesksolutions.com. That's sales@boss-solutions.com, or you can give us a call at 678-684-1200. Our website is boss-solutions.com. You can also reach us at bossdesk.com. We appreciate your attending. Thank you so much and have a great day.